If you're still manually calculating in Excel, you're doing it wrong. Let's fix that today. You will learn powerful formulas you must know.
First off, let's start with how we'll find the total. To find the total, we use a sum function and we select all of the cells we want to sum together and we can expand our formula. Now to find an average, we need an average function. And we select all of the cells we want to find the average of. And we can extend our function. To get the largest value from a list of values, we need a function called max. Make sure you start all of your functions with an equal sign. And then we select the range of values and it will return the largest value. And to find the smallest value, we need a function called min. Again, we select the range of values and we can get the lowest value. Now, let's explore some basic count functions. The count functions count only the cells containing numbers within your selected range of cells. So count will only count the cells with numbers. Count A counts all cells that contain data in your function. So it includes a count of the cells with numbers and the cells with letters. So let's see how that works. So you observe that count A is counting both the cells with the numbers and the cells with text data as well, while the count only looks for the cells with numbers. Now count blank will count the blank cells in your data. And we can see that for column C we have just one blank, and for column D we have two blanks. Let's move this over. Now let's take a look at some text functions. We have a list of employee first name and last name and their IDs. Say we want to get a full name from a combination of the first name and last name. For that, we need a concat function. Concat function will take all of the text you want to put together. So we'll select the first name and we'll separate the text with a space and select the last name. Now we can see how the concat function works. Now there's another option we can use to join text together. We can use a simple ampersand. For that, we select the text we want to join together. So we'll start with the first name, put an ampersand, add a space, then add another ampersand sign, and select the last name. Both functions work well to join text together. Now, assuming we have the employee ID, which is a combination of a 3-letter department, a 3-letter ID number, and a 3-letter location. We want to use text functions to extract the department ID number and location from this text data. To extract the data to the leftmost of the text, we use a left function. We'll select the text in which we want to extract the data, and we enter the number of characters we want to extract from the leftmost part of the data. For the ID number, which is in the middle of the text, we use a function called mid. The mid function will extract a text from a cell starting with the start number which you put in and the number of characters. In this case, we want to start from the 5th character. The 3 department is the first 3 characters and the hyphen is the 4th character. So we're going to start from the 5th character and we want to extract 3 characters from the 5th. And that's how the mid function works. Now, to extract the location, which is the last 3 letters or the last 3 characters in our text, we need a right function. The right function will return the characters to the right of our text. We'll select the text and then we put in the number of characters. In this case, we want to return the last 3 characters of our text. And we'll copy this down. Now, this is how some basic text function works. Now, let's see some more string functions. Say we want to find the number of characters in each text. We use a function called len. The len function will return the number of characters in the text. When we look at the result of the function, we notice that it doesn't appear to be accurate. That is because the len function also counts the white spaces in your text. To clean up the white spaces, we use a function called trim. And we select the text. Now you see that the trim function will remove the white spaces at the beginning or at the end of our text. If you have spaces between 2 texts, the trim function will not remove the space between the text. Now let's see the length of our text after using trim. We see that appears to be working fine, and Bob has just 3 characters. In most cases, you'll be combining len and trim in the same function. So it will look like this. First off, you want to trim the text and then use the len function around the trim. And that will work just fine. Now let's move on to some functions that we can use to correct the capitalization of our text. Say we want to adjust the full names to all uppercase. We use a function called upper and we select the names. Similarly, to change all of our text to lowercase, we use a function called lower. And it will adjust the capitalization of our text. Lastly, to change all of the characters of our text to proper case, which will capitalize the first letter of each word, we use proper. And we can see that the first letter of each word in our text is capitalized. Now let's wrap up text functions with one more function, the search function. The search function will return the position of a character you're searching for or a string you're searching for within your text. So say I want to find the position of the period within this text. I would use search. My find text is going to be the period sign. Now remember to wrap your text in double quotes. And I'm searching within the email. And you can see that it returns the position of the period within the email. Now, in most cases, you're not going to be using search on its own. You're going to be using search in collaboration with other text functions. So say we want to extract the first name out of the email. To do so, we're going to use a left function because we want to extract the characters to the left of the text. So let's use left. Our text is going to be the email. And the number of characters, we see that it's dynamic, so it's changing for each email. This is why we will need the search function. So we want to search for the position of the period sign within the email. But we don't want to return the period sign. We want to return all the text before the period sign. So we're going to subtract 1 from the search position. And now we see we get the first name. One more thing we can do is to adjust the capitalization of the first name by wrapping our formula in the proper function. And then we'll press enter. And we can see that we've been able to extract the first name out of the email using the proper, left, and search functions. Now let's see some logical functions. We have the sales of employees and their targets. And we want to see if each employee meets or did not meet a target. We can use an if function. An if function is a conditional function that will return a value if certain condition is true or false. So we start with an if. The first input is the test. So we want to test if the sales is greater than or equal to the target. Now, if this is the case, we want to say yes, it meets target. So we're going to wrap our text yes in double quotes. And if it's not the case, we want to put in the value if false, and that's no. And that's how you can use the if function to conditionally determine those who meet the target and those who don't meet the target. Now let's take it a step further and see a case where we have more than two conditions. Say we want to return excellent if the sales exceeds the target by over 1,000. Otherwise, if the sales exceeds target but with 1,000 or less, we want to return good. And if the sales is less than the target, we want to return do better. We'll use the ifs function with an S. It takes in each condition and the value to return for each condition. So our first condition is going to be when the sales minus the target is greater than 1,000, then we want to return excellent. Otherwise, when the sales is greater than or equal to the target, we want to return good. And for every other condition, so when the sales is less than the target, we can put true for every other condition. We want to return do better. Now, this is how we can use the ifs function to return multiple conditions. Now let's see some more logical functions. The AND function returns true if all of the conditions put in are true. So if we want to check if the target is met and if the region is the south, we will get a true only when both of the conditions are true. Now the OR function returns true if one of the conditions put in are true. So if we want to check if the target is met or if the region is equal to south, if any of these conditions are true, we will get true. Otherwise, we will get false if all of the conditions are false. Now lastly, the NOT function returns false when the condition is met. So if we want to check if a region is not west, we'll say this is equal to west. And if it's west, it will return a false. Otherwise, it will return true. Now in most cases, you'll be using the AND or NOT functions along with if function. So say those who will attend the conference are those who performed excellent or who are from the West region. To do so, we'll start with the if statement. And our logical test is going to be if performance is excellent or if the region is West. So to do so, we're going to use the OR function. And we're going to say if performance is equal to excellent or if the region is equal to West. Make sure you close your OR function. And if so, we want to return a yes. Otherwise, we want to return a no. And that's how you can use logical functions in Excel. Now, let's move on to date functions. The first function we're going to learn is a function that gets us today's date. This function is simply today. And make sure you open and close the parentheses along and press enter. This function will always return today's date. Now, the next function we're going to look at is how to extract the year from a given date. It's a simple function called year. And then you select the date. And with that, you can extract the year from any date. Another date function is the month function. It's simply month and you put in the date. And it will return the month of any given date. Lastly, we're going to look at how to get the day. Simply, just as the year and month, you put in the day and you put in the date, and you will get the day of the date. Now, what if we have the year, month, and day, and we want to work backwards and get the date? There's a date function. We simply type date, and it takes in the year, month, and day separated by a comma. So the first parameter is the year, and then the month, and lastly the day. And that will return the date for us. Now, let's say we want to calculate the difference between the contract start date and the contract end date. So we want to find the difference between two dates. We use the datediff function. The first parameter it takes is the earlier date, which is going to be the start date. And the second parameter is the later date. Now, to find the difference in years, you will specify that you want to find the difference in years. So in this case, we're going to put Y in double quotation and press enter. And that's how we calculate the difference between two dates in years. Now, to do the same thing, but to calculate the difference in months, we're going to use the datediff function. Again, use the start and end date as the first two parameters. But in this case, we're going to use M rather than a Y. And we'll get the difference between two dates in month. Now, putting together all we've learned with the date function, let's find an age given a date of birth. An age is going to be the difference between today's date and the date of birth. So in this case, we'll use the same datediff function. And our earlier date is going to be the date of birth. Now, today is going to be the older date, and we use today to get today's date. And lastly, our parameter is going to be Y, because we want to calculate the difference in years. And that is how you can calculate the age from a date of birth. And this wraps up all the functions and formulas you need to get started. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more. Keep mastering data, and I'll see you in the next lesson.